And I just looked up, and I don't like working just to survive.
Mm.
Every time I looked up, I wasn't able to spend time with my family members. Like I've never really spent Christmases or Thanksgiving with my family. It was like, oh, let me get that double time. Let me do this. Or maybe I don't have enough money to travel to California.
Mm.
There was always some issue or excuse as to why I needed to work instead of building my relationship.
Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Lion, and I believe that all growth in life happens outside your comfort zone. In this episode, I am joined by Havanya, who discovered the van life amidst an emotional, mental, and spiritual upheaval. You do not often see as many people of color well represented in alternate lifestyles. So many of us get caught up in the daily grind of survival and do not feel like we have enough time to explore and discover our gifts. Come join as we learn from the twists and turns of Havanya's journey to creating her new life. A life that isn't limited by having to work multiple jobs, and a life that isn't limited by unaffordable housing. Havanya chose the van life to create freedom and flexibility to be able to explore how she can serve humanity better through her gifts and make the world more beautiful than it already is. Thank you.
As we wait for Havanya to join, I just wanted to let you know that we have 16 other episodes waiting for you on our IG page. And if you are on the go, you can listen to him on Spotify or Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts. And with that, hello, Havanya. How's it going?
It's all right. It's all right.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. How's the weather in Atlanta this afternoon?
It seems like I haven't been outside. I haven't been woke up just to do it. It looks sunny.
Uh-huh.
It looks sunny. But I think it was a little cold earlier.
Okay. All right. Well, Oakland is sunny this morning, so I'm very happy about that. If you're okay with it, shall we get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, thank you so much to our audience for joining. Today, for episode 17, I'm joined by Havanya. Havanya grew up in Washington State, in what she called a Black Brady Bunch family. And she had a pretty unique upbringing in that she was the only Black girl in her high school, right? And despite being one of four Black people in her school, constantly kept getting confused by the teacher. So that gives you a little bit of insight into her psyche growing up. She found herself being misunderstood and being boxed into the stereotypes of what it is to be Black in the United States. However, at the age of 15, she got to experience life anew when her family moved to Atlanta. She describes it as a very positive culture shock, being able to see her people living all the facets of life, right? It also affirmed her existence as a Black woman and also fueled her expansion to better understand and appreciate her very rich cultural and racial heritage. How do we do, Havanya?
It sounds good. It sounds all right.
All right. So, Um, can you share the story of how we met and how our planets bumped into each other?
Well, we actually met at a Berkeley poetry slam. You were performing, and I was there performing, or not performing. Whoa. I was not there performing. I was there supporting a friend that was performing. And we were just kind of outside talking to another performer, and you came outside with all your vibes, and had something going with that performer where you were like encouraging him to use the new technique that he was developing, and you were like, oh yeah, I'll pay for your gas to go to this one specific slam, and I don't even know where it was, but there's this place that I want you to go, and if you go, I'll pay for the gas for you to get there. And I was like, wow, got vibes. And somehow it was mentioned that you do car living, and that you travel and you're a nomad. And the friend that I was with, he actually was like, oh yeah, she does too. And that's kind of how we connected.
Yeah. And that was, I want to say, about a month ago. And it's really interesting because you weren't the one who shared that you're in van life. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, one, when I go out, I'm a little bit more introverted. And so the friend I'm talking about just joined. You can see that he just joined. But when I go out I'm a little more introverted. I keep to myself. I'm more observing and things of that nature. So I don't really share much about my personal life, but it didn't dawn upon me to do so really, because I don't really like saying, oh yeah, van life, bus life.
Yeah.
It's like we talked about it, as far as like it becomes an identifier. Like, I don't like sharing it as far as it being, because after a while it becomes like, oh well, this is the only thing that's interesting about me. Please listen to what I gotta say. It's like one of those hooks that you make in like a paper, like you get the attention, and then
Yeah, I feel you on that one. And whenever like it comes up in a magical way like this, because when your friend, I guess when it came up, I know that I instantly felt a connection to you because you recognized the sign, the magnet on my car, on my Sheila. And you had noticed it before the show, right? So for those of y'all that don't know, I had this wild idea, or somebody gave me this wild idea, I don't even remember anymore, to like create these two magnets, whatever, 3 feet or 2.5 feet by 1.5 feet, that sort of promote the podcast and the IG. And turns out people actually notice.
I definitely noticed. I think I noticed that it was like once you start living in the nomadic life, you can kind of see like, oh, that person kind of like lives in that. Like you could see small things that indicate that people may live in their vehicle.
Yeah.
So I think it crossed my mind that I was like, okay, so there's a nomad. And I think it said something about nomad on the site.
Yeah, digital nomad. It says digital nomad on.
Yeah, and so like, so I just took note, but I just kept it pushing, like just a passing thought. And then when we saw you after the performances, and you said your IG name, I was like, oh wait, yeah. Because this is very, like, your IG name is very noticeable. Like,
that's good feedback. I appreciate that. All right. So we talked about, some background to your life, and, let's pick up where we left that off, right? So you've moved to Atlanta, and life as you know it is based in Atlanta. Help us understand, paint us a picture of what your life looked like before, the upheaval, the turning point that led you to considering, a different way of living, a richer existence. So help us understand what your life looked like.
What was it? It was like 2019, and I was working 2 jobs. I was also in school, and
Wow.
I had just was in a iffy phase with like breaking up with my boyfriend at the time. So we were broken up, but like there was still communication. But there was trying to get rid of that piece of my life. I also kind of had a breakup with my best friend at the time, so there was a lot of changes.
Yeah.
That was happening. And I was struggling a bit with all of the changes. I was in therapy, not twice a week, twice a month. And I was going through like a spiritual awakening at the time as well. There was a lot going on.
Yeah.
But the main thing that made me want to choose a different life was, one, now that the things that I thought were stationary in my life were no longer there, it just kind of opened up for everything else, like what could be in the future. And the other thing is that working these multiple jobs and paying like rent, like like expensive rent to only be able to sleep in my apartment. You know what I'm saying? Like I was only able to sleep there, and then I was up and ready to go to the next job. And I didn't like that. Like if I'm going to pay for something, I want to be able to enjoy it. I want to be able to sit and relax. So my main thing was, how can I pay less and be in my space more? Yeah.
Yeah. And you've answered it so well. And sort of your story is really part of a bigger vein, that awakening that a lot of people realized, right? Because pre-COVID, so many people were on that grind, all right, get up, go to work, right?
Yeah.
And then when COVID hit and it forced those of us who were privileged enough to be able to work remotely, to spend more time at home, then there were obviously 2 types of people. Some who lost their minds being at home too much, but then those who were genuinely starving for more self-time, more time for ourselves, awoke to, wow, I can't imagine another way of living, right? And it's like you experienced through mental and like just upheaval through your relationships, this realization that I'm paying all this money to be in a space that I'm not even enjoying, and like starting to question your life and how it's looking like. I think that's as struggling, as intense, and as much as you struggle during that, I think that's beautiful. And I think it probably resonates with a lot of people, especially people who have since had to go back to work and resume, that daily grind kind of lifestyle. But yeah, no, I think that makes perfect sense. So you're spending all this money for a place, and working some cases not even sleeping at your place, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah, there was one point I would stay at a friend's house just to be closer to my second job. I was staying there like three nights a week, every week.
mm,
Um,
3 nights a week, not even sleeping at your overpriced apartment that you're working your ass off to pay. That is not an uncommon story, Havonia. So thank you for, pardon?
I said that's unfortunate.
Yeah. And a lot of times this is the predominant narrative that's shared with us, get your own place and work a job to have your own place.
Yeah,
And part of why we're here is to showcase courageous people like you, who sort of had a realization and decided to sort of answer the call. So, you're in the midst of this storm, right? And you have this realization, okay, you don't want to be working so much. How does that connect to, because it was really interesting when we were talking ahead of this episode, to the narrative of your mom, if that's something you're as far as the work ethic and sort of falling into this.
yeah. Yeah. Growing up, my mom worked multiple jobs. Still to this day, works multiple jobs. She is known to work uh 15 days in a row sometimes, and each day is like 12, 16 hours. Like she takes pride in that. So, and I grew up seeing my mom doing that, thinking that's just the way it is,
Yeah.
But then I did it. Sometimes having three jobs. It didn't last very long for me.
Mm.
I'm just not built the same. And I don't like the idea. Like it's for her, it's definitely built in for her. I think for her sanity. Like she gets pride in it. It's something that keeps her going. For me, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. I don't like having to do things that I don't like doing what I have to do or what I'm supposed to do. And like using my energy for what I wanted to use it on. So yeah. So it lasted, I'd say about 6 years. I was doing that. And I just looked up and I don't like, working just to survive. Every time I looked up, I wasn't able to spend time with my family members. Like I've never really spent Christmases or Thanksgiving with my family. Because like, oh, let me get that double time. Let me do this. Or maybe I don't have enough money to travel to California. There was always some issue or excuse as to why I needed to work instead of building my relationship.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an immigrant to this country, and as an immigrant, we're known for having a very, very strong work ethic. And I myself, and then watched my parents for a lot longer than me put in 80 hours a week, like it was nothing, but it was something. And I was lucky that, I obviously saw people around me not doing that and seeing sort of what else they were able to do with their life. And I was like, I want that. So getting back to it, you're in the midst of this grind, right? And you're going through this upheaval, and you realize the predicament of just the absurdity of working as much as you are just to sort of have this apartment. So once you have that realization, what steps do you take? What are some of the ways in which you try to change the course of your river of life?
Like, how did I start the process of
Mm-hmm.
going into?
Yeah. Because a lot of times, when we're in our comfort zone, it's like a rut, it's like a groove, and a lot of times it's deep, right? So how did you start the painstaking process of like rechanneling your life?
I think I think that goes back to what I was saying before. There was a lot of loss in the moment that I was
Mm,
going through during that time, and so like things that I thought that kept me secure, I
mm,
put a lot of weight in those things that made me feel secure. They were no longer there, so I had to
mm,
find a different way to build my own security, my own foundation, and so that meant like everything in the spiritual awakening, like everything was open. Like there was
mm,
so many possibilities. So it wasn't really how can I get out of my comfort zone, because it was more so like, oh, I was forced out of it. You know,
mm,
I was forced out of it and trying to like reach and grab for some type of surface or like something to keep me comfortable,
mm,
some type of foundation. But it went through the process of, again, the thought of how can I save money and live comfortably and possibly travel, you
mm,
know? And I went through the YouTube videos like everyone else of
mm,
trying to figure out, or I don't even know if I like specifically search. I think it was more of like a algorithm thing. It popped up
mm,
of like tiny homes or something, and from tiny homes it went from trailers to trailers and went to like okay, so how can I buy a truck, and then from trailer it went to RV, and from RV it went to like schoolie,
mm,
um but I felt like the schoolie was too big, and so somehow I ended up on vans and realized that
mm,
people live in their vans, and I was
mm.
like, oh well, this is it, I can do that.
Yeah.
um And I just decided like I can do that. I want to do that. It like kind of lit something in me. And when I told my mom about it, I was like, Mom, guess what? She was like, what? I'm going to live in a van. Like I told her, I'm going to live in a van. She's like, I don't agree with that. I was like, excellent, but I didn't ask you. I didn't ask you if you agreed. I'm telling you that this is what I'm going to do. And so she had a little bit of resistance at first, but then from then on, it was like, oh, well, did you see this RV? Did you see this van? Oh, look at this video right here. You know, like she got on board real quickly. And actually, she just this weekend turned her car into something that she can sleep in, because she works out of away from her house like a couple days a week. So she
Uh,
camps out, and so she's starting to camp out in her car now. She
wow.
didn't do the first time. She like actually she found out how to lay the seats down and um figuring out a sleeping arrangement. Yeah, like so.
So you inspired the woman who called you crazy to start. That's quite the story. Um, Thank you so much for sharing that. You know, you when you were talking about, sort of how the algorithm suggested the videos, and how you started to sort of go through this mental process. Um, you arrived at this conclusion that says, I can do this, I'm going to do this. But before you arrived there, as you were watching this content, most of the people who've created that content don't look like you or I, right? Was there any kind of mental block to say, oh, this is cool and all, but I don't know if this is for me because I don't see people like me doing this? Or was that something that didn't even cross your mind?
Um, no, it wasn't I didn't feel any limitation because I didn't see people that look like me.
Yeah,
At all. But also, I'm the type of person that if I find interest in something, I'm gonna
yeah,
put black in front of it.
yeah.
When I search it on Facebook or on Google or YouTube, like if I'm interested in a hobby, a topic, or something, I'm gonna put black in front of it so I can find the black people that are doing it.
Yeah.
And so I was able to find a couple of YouTubers that were that were Black and doing RV life and van life and things of that nature.
Hell yeah.
So, but also, yeah, that wasn't something that I felt limited by at all. Because
Okay.
yeah.
So tell us a story about your first van and the room for rent.
Can you repeat that?
Tell us the story about, the first van that you got, right? And your room for rent. So that helps us understand part of your process for how you started to divorce your old life.
So once I decided that I wanted to do van life, I think it was like a 3-month process. My AirPod is dying.
It's okay.
It was like a 3-month process where I was just like, before I got my van, I was already looking, and it was an old news van, and it kind of looked like a cable van, but it had like a mid top, and you can walk. It had this ladder that you can walk up top, and I love that. And I started the process of trying to like tear it down. It had like this really ugly red carpet in it all over. I don't know why. And I tore all that down, realized it was a lot more far gone than I thought. Especially when it started raining, there was leaks everywhere. And so it got overwhelming. So I kind of just stood still with the process of building my van. This is a van. And then I didn't do anything with it for a year. But when my lease was up for my apartment, I ended up selling everything, including my car. Sold my car, sold everything I could in that apartment, and to a room for rent. A very small room, which just so happened to be a little bit bigger than as far as the living space. Can you hear me? My AirPod just died.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
So it was a little bit bigger than my van living space. So I would imagine ever. So I moved into this room for rent. I sold my bed, and I ended up sleeping on this lawn chair. I bed. Really skinny. It's not twin size. It looks like it's about twin size. It's not. And I used the cushions from my old couch on top of it, and like use some mattress pads to try to like make it more comfortable. Didn't work. For like 2 months. Before I decided, let me go ahead and see what it's like to build a bed. And I went to Home Depot and just looking around, see what I would need or what I would need to do. Just kind of do a dry run. And I ended up just buying stuff and building a bed that day. That I'm very proud of to this day. And after that, I moved into another rent, more cushiony. What's up?
So, I want to comment on the fact that, like, you get this van and you still like move into a different room for rent and you make a bed out of a lawn chair. And there was something, when we were talking earlier, you said that was very powerful, is that, you get labeled when people hear about your story as being, impulsive. I personally like the term, going with your intuition. But you're also very cautious. So if you could speak a little bit on that in regards to this before we get back on track with the story, because a lot of people hearing this would be like, damn, what was she thinking? Sleeping on a lawn chair?
As far as caution, I don't know if that story kind of has examples of me being cautious, because a lot of it was impulsive. When I was moving out of my apartment, I was like, don't want to carry that, throw it away. I don't want to deal with this, throw it away, sell this. And what I was left with was the lawn chair. Yes, I don't think that story has much, there's no caution in that one. All of it was impulsion. Yeah. I'm trying to think of another example of me being cautious. I mean, I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing and I'm living in my alignment. And at that point, it was also like, am I living in my alignment? But also, what is my alignment? You know, like, yeah. Who am I talking to? Who is giving me the plan? You know, so there was caution in the sense to make sure that I wanted to make sure I was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But as far as...
And actually, that's what I was going for, is that even though on the surface, the way you're describing it, it seems very impulsive, and sure, there was some impulsiveness in it. Ultimately, behind the scenes, you know, you're being guided, you know, through your own sense or others in a way that had some semblance of caution, right? So yeah, going back to it, you discover in Home Depot that you can like make your own bed, and you do it. Your first creation, and it's a simple thing, but it's amazing, right? Tell us a little bit about the bed.
The bed, my first love, was just a piece of plywood and 9 12-inch legs, and then it had a little 2-inch railing so my mattress wouldn't fall off, because I knew with my lawn chair mattress everything would slide and fall off. So, so that was it. That was my bed. I was proud of it. My mom called it a table. But it did what it was supposed to do. And I just recently, within the last couple of months, broke it down into something else. But it was in my bus for a while.
Fantastic. So then what next? You've built this little bed for yourself. Take us down the journey some more.
Well, I built the bed, one, because I didn't like the idea of people coming into my room and being like, you sleep on this lawn chair, you know? Like, what if I have a friend over, you know? You can't have too many people over if you have a lawn chair. And also, I wanted it to be comfortable in that anything that I built in that room for rent, I could move into my van, you know, like, because it was similar size. The thing I forgot was that there were crooks, and vans aren't very straightforward. There's all types of things, so it didn't quite fit in there. Yeah. And after I moved out of that room for rent, I put the bed into my van, and it was all slanted. It was like this the whole time. And it was kind of stuck in there because it was like jammed. And then I moved into the other room for rent, was kind of like student housing, off-campus student housing. And so it was already furnished and things of that nature. So I just had that bed in my van, and I drove around with that for about a year. That's a lie. I'd say about 9 months.
Okay.
How long I had the van after that.
Okay. And then a big turning point happened in your life.
Right. 2 months after I moved into the student housing, my father passed away.
Mm.
And that was, it was a big turning point. And it kind of, again, with loss, created like, okay, so my sense of security is gone now. Like something that I held is now gone. How do I move forward? What are the options? And anything is possible at this point because what you have known is no longer there. So anything is possible. And I'd say a month afterwards, my mom gave me a proposition. She wanted me to do this, to do the van life. She was very supportive throughout the whole thing. And she offered to help me with buying a new rig. That was easy to convert or like in better standing. And that's how I got on the path to finding faith.
Tell us a little bit about Faith.
Faith is my bus. So she's named after the fact that, again, all my security in these situations have been missing. And that's shaking, like there's that unknown. And what helps you go forward in the unknown is trust, faith, trust in the universe. It's all going to work out, and so it was all in alignment. It was so perfect. Everything is so perfect. The name, how I found her. I was looking for sprinters. I wanted a sprinter because every Instagram and YouTube have a sprinter. And I just knew it was going to be so much space. It was going to be great. But I came across this bus. I wasn't interested in it in the sense that it was too big. And I just couldn't see myself driving around in something so huge. But I still wanted to go look at it for whatever reason. And I made the trip. It was like a 1.5-hour, 2-hour trip and fell in love. Simple. I fell in love. And she was partially built. And I think that was helpful in the sense that like my van, I had to start from scratch. It was overwhelmed. And the bus was partially built. Like I could already see it, but like there was already a vision in there. So I could just adapt it to what I wanted it to be rather than completely create something new. And yeah, so went out there to see Faith, fell in love, went home, looked at another bus. Oh, now I'm on the bus train, like now I'm like, oh, let's look at buses. Went to go look at another bus, wasn't feeling it. And then, it didn't compare to Faith,
Yeah.
And I would say 1.5 weeks, 2 weeks later, I had Faith. Like, she was mine. And looking back on it, I remember I just looked at my journal on an entry of me and my manifestations and everything of like how like the perfect van or rig that I wanted for living in and moving in. And then 2 weeks later, it's like, I got Faith, like on the next page, it's like, I got Faith. So it all just kind of worked out. It was a special time in life for real. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And actually, you reminded me of a very important question, right? And this is something that came up in our conversation, which was as part of your spiritual upheaval and just this big shift in your life, something that you grappled with. And I think this will resonate with a lot of people is how do you know when the universe or God is just putting a bump in the road for you to persevere and overcome versus God or the universe telling you that this is not your path.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? You found yourself asking that question a lot.
To this day. Still, I asked this question last night. I was on the phone with someone and I asked it last night.
Mm.
Yeah, when I bought my first van, there was a lot of bumps.
Mm.
Like, he lied about the leaks, you know, he had a lien on the title, like he sold the title and had to pay the debt, and he didn't have the money until after I paid for the bus or the van. And so, like, there was a lot of humps that felt shady. And so I was like, okay, so what's going on? Am I on the right path? And I think ultimately, I don't know the answer to the difference, but I think specifically with that, there was never I had a conviction, and though I questioned if I was on the right path, in myself, it just made sense to do the van life, the bus life. So I didn't. It's really hard to explain.
Yeah. I know when we were talking about it, you said that there was a sense of deep knowing.
Yeah.
Despite. And did therapy help at all with parsing through all the bullshit to understand?
Yes, therapy saved my life. Therapy saved my life, and it definitely helped with figuring out what was me overthinking in my own way. So yes, therapy was amazing. I recommend it to everyone. Everyone go to therapy.
Hear, hear.
Yeah. Therapy was amazing. It helped me get through the issues with the van, as far as a lot and all that other stuff, and then all the transitioning.
Yeah.
But again, I don't, like I said, like, it was a deep knowing.
Yeah.
Nothing felt forced. Like, things just kind of fell into place, even though there were bumps. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It does. It does. So you found Faith, and she's a beauty, and she's already partially built out to where you could start living in her, right? So at this point, you make the move, and a lot of times, you know, when I see van life being promoted, we see these like extravagant build outs, right? And yours isn't that. And, you know, we talked about how a lot of times that can be a trap, because life is ever evolving. So could you speak a little bit to that as part of, you know, your own journey, realizing you have this space with infinite possibilities, and you grappled with some emotions, right? Of like, the build out and how much. So if you care to elaborate on that.
Yeah. So like you were saying, the internet, social media, YouTube, Instagram, like, everyone just so happens to have like a lot of money, or who knows a carpenter, you know?
Yeah.
And so they have like these really built out floor plans, and it really looks good because it looks like a legit apartment take wherever. And so, yeah, like that, I got caught up in that. And I think that's also where the caution was coming from before, that you were saying. I didn't move. I got stagnant because of that freeze of like, oh, it can't look like this. I don't know how I'm going to make it look like this. What do I do? And I did nothing for a while, until I think one day I'm like watching Van City Van Life, and he's like, oh yeah. I was watching, somebody just commented, yes, speak to the emotions. They're being funny. So I was watching Van City Van Life on YouTube, and he basically just takes these tubs, puts them in with all his clothes, you know, and he has his table bed similar to what I have, and he puts it in his van, and he puts like a rug on the floor, you know, and boom, he can live in it. You know what I'm saying? And it just really simplified it, and it was really a call out to like, stop thinking so hard. It's not that difficult. Like that old college commercial.
Yeah.
And so after that, it just kind of motivated me to like, oh, I can just do this. So like, I would just start one project at a time. You know, let's build the bed at least to how I want it to be. It was a twin size, so let me build it into a full size. The floors, I need to make sure that there's insulation, so let me just double up on this, you know. So it was just one project at a time, and I think I still live by that as far as with my bus, living through functionality rather than aesthetic. And what other people may think and want to look at, like, does it work for me and my lifestyle? Because I think this is what you were getting at, is that a lot of times when, like, I couldn't imagine building out my entire bus because it looked good and like it looked like an apartment, but then I get in there and I live in it and it's just awful, and it doesn't work with the way that I live my life, like the flow of it, the function of it. But now it's permanent, you know, like it's permanent. It's like
a lot of money has been put into it, so you're kind of stuck with it. Unless you got lots of money.
Exactly. And you can just be like, oh, okay, whatever. But I wanted to, like, I wanted to make sure that it worked for me and my lifestyle. I know I'm a homebody. So being in a space that has things on this wall and things on this wall, up top to bottom, and then there's a small hallway, would drive me crazy. I would feel very closed in. So, but I knew that was for me. Like, I need to be able to just chill in my house, read, stare at the wall, and just be comfortable in an open space. So yeah. It just, for me, it's a slow process, and I think that's where the caution may come in.
Yeah. And I think the other point that really resonates with me is, again, people can create a mountain out of a molehill to say, oh my God, okay, I want to do this van life. But then they look at the template of like starting out with this unbuilt van, and they're like, how am I going to go about creating this? And then they look at how much it costs to have these complex build outs and like, fuck, I can't afford that. And there goes that dream. It doesn't have to be that way. You can start, you know, minimalism is a virtue that I live by. So yeah. Thank you for sharing that. As we start to, you know, close things off, one of the things, that I wanted to explore with you is, when did you realize that you didn't have to just be in Atlanta? You could actually travel. Because when we were talking, it sounded like you just wanted a place to live and be or in one place.
Yeah.
But traveling was a more, you know, eventual development. So help us understand that journey.
Yeah. Like you said, I wanted to have a very cheap place to live and then work my possible 1 to 2 jobs and just stack my money. And then on the weekends, be able to travel to like close places that were like road trips, you know, Florida, whatever. and it would be an easier life to get a little leeway in my regular standard life that everyone else is living. Hack, that I developed. But my mother, she was going to Arizona to visit my brother, and she wanted me to meet her there. And I was like, And I think at this point I had already quit my job. Whoa, hold on. So yeah, it all moved so fast. I quit that job, and I didn't know everything was up in the air. There's so much just loss and change, just up in the air. My mom wanted to come to Arizona. So yeah, my original plan was to stay in one spot, travel on the weekends, but quitting that job, another thing that I got from the universe or God, to do. And my mom actually put a stamp on that one too. And she didn't even notice, or she didn't even know that she was doing that, but she did. And then later on, she asked me to meet her in Arizona, where we would then do a road trip together and drive back to California to her house. And at this point, I had lost my father, and I was desperate to put intention into the relationships that I have. And, she's my only parent left. So I was like, yeah, let's build these relationships. Let's go. That'll be fun to bond, and I ended up driving. But first I went to the Black Nomad meetup. And that was amazing. And after the Black Nomad meetup, I ended up headed west, traveling to California. Or no, I was traveling to Arizona. I missed my mom because my car had issues in Texas this weekend. And so I missed her, headed to Phoenix anyway. I didn't like the energy. So for a day, and then headed to San Diego and stayed there for a couple of weeks. So at that point, it was like, well, I no longer have a mission anymore. What do I do? And again, it wasn't a switch between, now I know I'm traveling. It just kind of gradually happened that way. And I found myself in it and being like, oh, well, I like this. I like myself when I'm in this environment, when I can be free and I'm friendlier. When I can be free and just exist in the world exploring, and then there's a random family or person there, and I'm just bringing up conversation, and all of a sudden now I have a connection on Instagram and we're friends, and I'm learning people, yeah. So that's kind of how that happened. I never intended to travel the way that I have been. I wanted to just sit one place and build money because I was still in that mindset.
Hell yeah. It's really interesting how, when we allow ourselves to be led by the universe, in this case, it was the universe and your mama, somebody you trust, what comes out of it. This has been such an amazing conversation. I feel deep down that long after you and I are gone, this episode is going to continue to inspire people to take more control of their life and get out of their comfort zone, to build a life that they desire. So with that, I want to thank you so much, Avonia, for being open to me coming into your life and accepting the invitation to come speak and share your voice and your stories. And I also want to thank the audience for present and future for giving their attention, their life force to being moved by Havania's story. And until the next episode, love and light, y'all.
I just want. Oh wait, I want one thing. Is that okay?
Of course, please go ahead.
I want to go back to what you asked me about. Was it a limitation for me being a Black woman and not seeing people that look like me in the life?
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily something that stopped me from doing it, but I do, and I have had conversations with other people who have had that fear, that blockage right there. And so I just want to say that there are avenues. There are Facebook groups. There's a whole community on Instagram. My Instagram is filled with Black van lifers and nomads. There's events, Black Nomad Meetup. There's another event that I'm on a planning team that is the Black Tiny Home Festival. So meetups and events and people and avenues for you to get in touch with people that look like you who are living the alternative lifestyle. So you don't have to be fearful, and they can teach you or listen to you, or like you just, whatever it is that you need to give you the tools. The resources are out there, and if you want to, you can reach out to me. I think I'm pretty down to earth, so reach out to me, and if I don't know, I can connect you with someone else. But don't allow the fact that, one, it's an alternative lifestyle, which is against the norm, to stop you, as well as that you don't see people that look like you doing it. Don't let that stop you from being free. Don't let limitations that have been placed on us, and us, everyone, women, Black people, all that. Like, don't let things that society put on you to stop you from being free and happy. Yes.
Hell yeah. Did you want to plug the Black Tiny Home Festival that's coming up in Florida real quick?
Yeah, it's coming up in Florida, but we're still deciding if we're going to postpone it.
Okay.
But it is Black Tiny Home Festival. Right now, it's going to be February, the weekend after Valentine's Day. And I don't want to I don't want to say too much because we're still.
That's fine. I will put Havania's Insta info, so anybody who watches this episode here or on Spotify, you'll be able to easily be in touch with Havania. And Havania is very approachable, clearly. She let a stranger like me. Anything else before we close out?
No. Thank you so much for having me. It was not as awful as I thought it was going to be. Out of my comfort zone.
Hey. All right, y'all. On that note, love and light. Thank you so much. Bye now.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Get Out of Your Comfort Zone series. I hope it moved you and inspired you if you are feeling stuck with something in your life. If you would like to further connect with our guest, please see their contact in the description. Please consider taking a moment to rate this podcast. Please also consider showing us some love on your Instagram story. You can find our info in the episode description. Until the next episode, I wish you infinite love and light. Thank you so much for tuning in.